Hey folks, Eric Bright, Focus Fishing Guide Service. Got another video fishing report for you for Table Rock. It is Tuesday, November the 14th. I've been on the water almost every day since the last report. A little bit on Table Rock, a little bit on Taneycomo. Fish are getting better. The bite's getting better. The bite's definitely getting better on Table Rock. Started catching quite a few more fish this week, over the weekend, and then today we had a pretty decent day out there as well. As far as our lake level is concerned, we're at 915.81, which I guess right now we should be at 917, so that puts us a little bit less than a foot down. Core's really, again, we talked about the oxygen level last week. Oxygen levels really haven't improved. We got a little bit of rain today, supposed to get some rain tonight into tomorrow. That will definitely help, and that will allow the core to start moving a little bit more water and drop the lake level where it needs to be, and that will help the bite. That will definitely help the bite. That and the water temperature. The water temperature is dropping. Today started off at about 59, just got off the lake and it was about 60.5, so it has dropped a couple of degrees since last week. These colder nights, this colder rain is definitely lowering the water temperature, and it does have the fish moving a little bit, so we are starting to see some movement. We are starting to see some fish biting a little bit better as well. But if you guys are coming down, say you're going to fish the lower end of the lake, that's where I am today. Caught a few on a jig early, throwing a Jewel Pro Spider jig, Okeechobee Blue, Green Pumpkin Candy, Table Rock Secret. All those colors are still working. Seems like these fish are relating more to points and more mixed rock and gravel points, kind of the flatter points that have rock and gravel mixed into it. Definitely seems to be the better spot for the jig fish. Most of those have been either largemouth or smallmouth. I had a real nice smallmouth first thing this morning on a jig, and it was the same sort of deal, kind of a mixed rock and gravel point. Throwing a 7/16 Jewel Pro Spider jig. Okeechobee Blue matched up with a Green Pumpkin Speed Craw, J-Tail, or the UV Beaver. All those are working as trailers right now. Topwater bite's pretty much gone. Have been catching a few more on a crankbait, both the rock crawler and the wigglewort. Those fish are fairly shallow. They're about 5 to 7 feet deep. Seems like cloudy, windy days are better for those fish, and seem to be catching those fish more on transition areas. More of the rock where it changes over from big rock to small rock to gravel, kind of the channel swing type banks really seems to be where we're getting the crankbait bite. But we have been catching a few more on a crankbait down here. But by far the best bite I've had for the last few days has still been a drop shot bite. Today most of the fish we caught were on a drop shot rig, either a shad shaped worm, Yamamoto cut tail, the new UV drop shot worm, the hand poured one, and then a chomper's drop shot worm as well. Most of the fish we're catching on a drop shot are on those long gravel points or on the gravel flats. Today they were from about 28 to about 35 feet deep. Over the weekend they were as deep as 45 feet deep. And that really seems to be where these fish are holding at, is out in that 28 to about 45 foot deep. Gravel points, gravel flats, not really on anything in particular. Just kind of following the schools of shad. If you can find the schools of shad, you'll find the fish underneath them. Most of them are holding very tight to the bottom. You'll hook one, and then you'll see a few more follow it up, but the bite's very light. You have to pay attention, keep your finger on the line so you can feel the bite. Most of the bites, there's really no bite to it at all. Well, basically what you do is you feel a little bit of pressure or a little bit of extra weight on there, and that's when we're catching them. Go up into the Kimberling City area. The jig bite is definitely stronger in the Kimberling City area than it is here. Again, the Jewel Pro Spider jig's been my better jig, 5/16 or 7/16. Okeechobee Blue's been a really good color. Green Pumpkin Candy's been a really good color, and I actually caught a few more on the old peanut butter and jelly last week. Matching that up with either the J-Tail or with a Zoom Speed Craw, Green Pumpkin Candy on the Speed Craw. And again, these fish are anywhere from about 10 to 20 feet deep. And they seem to be relating to points there as well. More the mixed rock and gravel points, the flatter rocky points have been producing more fish than, say, the steeper points or even the flat gravel points. You want a little bit of flat, you want a good drop on the side of it, and basically we're catching these fish anywhere from, like I said, 10 to 20 feet deep seems to be the magic depth on that. Drop shot bite's been really strong up there as well. Same sort of deal, using the shad shape, using the cut tail, using the UV hand poured drop shot worm, and using the Chompers drop shot worm out on those gravel flats, anywhere from about 28 to about 35 or even 45 feet deep, holding really tight to the bottom. Most of those fish are spots, and again, when you hook one, you'll notice 3 or 4 will follow it up to about 18 to 20 feet deep and then go back down. You can keep those fish moving, keep those fish active, and you can catch several out of a group as long as you stay on top of them. And then the crankbait bite. Crankbait bite's been pretty strong up there as well. Rock crawler's been a good bait. Wigglewort's been a good bait. And again, they're on those transition areas where you're going from bigger rock to smaller rock, both on the main lake and back in the creeks. Kind of the channel swing type stuff really seems to be where these fish are at. 7 to maybe 12 or 13 feet deep. Wind really helps that bite. Caught a lot more fish with the wind over the weekend on a crankbait than we did on calmer days. So if you've got a windy day, a cloudy day, it's a good idea to go throw a rock crawler or Wiggleworth. Not really catching as many on a spinnerbait as we were a couple of weeks ago. Not real sure why that is. Thrown it quite a bit over the weekend, just did not get the bites on the spinnerbait that we had been getting. Go up into the James River, definitely have a jig tied on up the James. A lot of fish up the James. A lot of fish around boat docks up the James, not necessarily up underneath the boat docks because we really haven't had any sunny days, but a lot of fish hanging around boat docks and hanging around the brush piles around boat docks. Again, Jewel Pro Spider jig has been my best jig up there. 5/16, 7/16. Okeechobee Blue's by far been the best color up there. Have caught some on Table Rock Secret, have caught some on Green Pumpkin Candy. And then the Zoom Speed Craw has definitely been my best trailer up there. So a lot of fish on a Speed Craw, on a spider jig, anywhere from about 6 to about 15, 16 feet deep. They don't seem to be quite as deep up there as they are, say, down here in the Kimberling City area. Catching a few on a crankbait as well. A lot of them on those ledgy type banks, those transition type banks on both a rock crawler and a Wiggleworth. Anywhere from about 6 or 7 foot deep out to about 15 foot deep. Look for those transition areas where you go from bigger rock to smaller rock down to gravel. Channel swings are really key up there, both on the main lake and back in the creeks on the crankbait bite right now. And then surprisingly, a drop shot. Did a trip up there, it was either Friday or Saturday, I don't remember which day it was, where we caught quite a few on a drop shot on some secondary points. Gravel points out there about 32 feet deep. Found one fish, hooked him, bottom exploded, a bunch of fish out of there. Shad-shaped worms working, cut tail worms working, the UV drop shot worm is working, and the Chompers drop shot worm is working. All of them out there, like I said, 25 to about 35 foot deep seems to be the magic depth. If you can find the shad, it really seems like up the James, the shad are moving from the main lake back into the creek arms. They're not all the way back, they're maybe a third of the way back. Find some shad close to those secondary points and you'll catch them on a drop shot up the James. White River was really fun last week. Caught several fish up the White River doing a bunch of different things. Great drop shot bite up the White River right now. Again, shad-shaped worm, cut tail worm, Chompers drop shot worm, and the UV drop shot worm all were working. Main lake and secondary gravel points and humps out there anywhere from 25 to 45 foot deep. Again, these fish are relating right to the bottom. You'll see 1 or 2 fish on the bottom. You'll hook one, the bottom will kind of explode, and you'll wind up catching quite a few fish doing that. Good jig bite up there too. Caught several fish on the Jewel Pro Spider jig up there. 5/16, 7/16, Okeechobee Blue, Table Rock Secret, Green Pumpkin Candy. Seemed like the Speed Craw was a much better trailer up there than the J-Tail or the UV Beaver. But a lot of fish on that, anywhere from about 6 to about 20 feet deep. Again, they're relating more to rock than they are gravel, so it's more of those rocky, mixed rock and gravel points, and around some of the boat docks as well. And then a crankbait too. A lot of fish on a crankbait. Caught several fish. Had a really good trip up there. We were throwing a rock crawler. Most of the fish were about 10 foot deep on those channel swing type banks where it changes over from big rock to small rock to gravel. A lot of fish on a rock crawler, both on the main lake and in some of the bigger creek arms, like Big Creek had some, Mill Creek had some. A lot of fish on a crankbait up there, so make sure you have a crankbait tied on if you're going up the White. We did catch a few on a spinnerbait, but I'd say the crankbait bite was better than the spinnerbait bite up the White last week, so I would definitely have a crankbait tied on. Water's cooling off, so better chance of catching them on a crankbait than you do on a spinnerbait right now. Guys, we are halfway through November. Thanksgiving's next week. Feels like November. Fish don't necessarily think it is. It's a little bit chilly for us, but the water's still in the 60s. But they are starting to move. They are starting to bite. We are starting to, definitely had a better bite this past week than we had in weeks prior. So the fish are starting to bite. I think these next 3 to 4 weeks are going to be really, really good. And we're catching a lot of fish, having a lot of fun. The two guys I had today from Jonesboro, Arkansas, we kind of struggled shallow early, went out deep, and really caught some good fish later in the day. So if you guys are thinking about coming down, maybe coming down for the Christmas holidays or something, or Thanksgiving, got a lot of open dates in December, got a lot of open dates in November right now. So remember, we're running fall rates, winter rates, knocking $50 off the normal price of a guide trip. So if you're thinking about going fishing while you're in town, give me a call. We can get out and go fishing. Let the girls go shopping. We'll go fishing. But give me a call. It's Focus Fishing Guide Service. You can reach me at 417-860-4743. Hit my website, focusfishing.com. Shoot me an email or book online. Either way, I get back to you within 12 hours. We get your dates and times set up. Come on down. We're going to have a lot of good fishing here over the next 6 weeks. So get a hold of me. We'll go fishing. Save a little bit of money with the winter rates. But thanks for watching the videos, guys. Really appreciate you watching and subscribing. If you got a minute, haven't subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe there on YouTube. Thanks for watching. Can't wait to hear from you. We'll see you on the water.